That was Brian Brinkman you heard. We are live on the Brinkman broadcast. He was doing some little audio testing for us. Good afternoon, Brian.
Good afternoon, RJ. Good afternoon, Megan. How are you guys doing today?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm good. I'm glad to be here with you guys.
We're back. We're back as always. We would never leave you. We have a lot of stuff to talk to you about today. We have new projects being announced. We have memories to share. We have shows to talk about. We have looking forward to do. We have so much. Let's first just I think I said last time or whenever that last episode was about 1/3/15. Was that last time? Maybe. I said that it was maybe the worst New Year's Eve show in a while. And we got a caller who surprisingly disagreed with that. So let's listen to that real quick. You guys ready?
Yeah, surprisingly disagreed.
We don't get a lot of disagreements, so we really got to air them out. Everyone thinks we filter the voicemails for only positive, but really it's just that everyone likes us. Okay, here we go.
Really, we just get very few.
We do.
Hi, HF Pod. This is Ben in DC. So in the last episode, you said that 12/31/14 was the least memorable Phish New Year's Eve show of the last 20 years. And well, so maybe
I think that was me.
In an objective sense, that's true. But for me personally, it was one of my most memorable Phish New Year's Eve experiences, like second only to Gamehenge. So I didn't go to Miami, but here in DC, there was a pizza place that was showing the live stream on the big screen there. And my now 10-year-old was 2 months old at the time. And so she didn't really have a bedtime yet at that point. So I figured, why not? I'll take her to the Phish live stream. So we went down there, and I'm pretty sure we didn't get there in time for the first set, at least for the beginning of it, but we were definitely there for the second and third sets. So we got there, we had dinner, I had pizza, she had a bottle, and then I put her in the baby carrier, and for the second set, like we danced together, and I think she was enjoying the music. I remember the ghost. And then after the second set, she fell asleep, so I put her down in the stroller, and then watched the third set, and including the admittedly ridiculous New Year's gag with the vacuum. Then at like 1 a.m. when it was over, we went home on the metro, and she still stayed asleep through all of the loud, drunk New Year's Eve people on the metro. So overall, it was a New Year's Eve that I'll never forget. My daughter doesn't remember it, but that's to be totally expected at that age.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so sweet.
A lot of good music and sports memories from having babies. I do. Brian, do you?
Yeah, that actually brings up a memory I have from like March 16. My son Wallace was 6 months old, and we friends over, and we went to our favorite dive bar in Annapolis, Davis's, and they had a bunch of March Madness, and I was wearing him in a baby Bjorn, and I was having a beer, and a guy came up to me, like an old sailor looking dude, just scruffy looking guy. He was, how old is he? And I was like 6 months ago. He just looks at me like straight in the eyes and goes, "Then you're a 6-month-old dad." And like it hit me. I was like, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. But really appreciate that caller's take. Gets a little bit too close to the attendance bias theory that like because he was there it was a great show, or he was experienced in that sort of sense. But I do want to agree with him. I think that RJ was a little bit off with the worst New Year's Eve show of the last 20 years. The second set of this show, phenomenal. The Ghost is outstanding. Huge theme from the bottom jam. Very fluid segue into Cities, which then fluidly segues into Chalk Dust Torture, and then the Big Martian Monster. I would actually argue that 2011 and 2019 would probably get my pick as the two worst New Year's Eves of the last 20 years. But who's counting? Maybe our listeners are, but maybe not. Definitely not me. At least definitely not RJ.
Not me. Thank you for that, Brian. Thank you to our caller. That's a cool memory. Okay, so Megan, apparently we both said that our biggest regret in terms of Phish was not seeing more Phish in college, and we have someone who called in to share in that with us. So let's listen to that real quick.
Awesome.
Did we say that? Do you remember saying that? I remember saying it.
I remember us talking about that. Yeah. Yeah. I
Still
mean, I
feel
think I did it a lot when I was in the beginning of college, but I think towards the end of the college, I started to kind of drop off. And I do regret that a little bit, but
I mean, should have just been seeing Phish throughout college. No reason not to.
yeah.
I'd do that if I
definitely.
could go back. I'd have such great stats at this point. God.
I'd say same. I know. Me too.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Hey guys, it's Beth calling from Chicago. I'm a couple weeks behind and just now listening to your 2024 draft, and had to pause and call in when RJ and Meg both said that their only regrets in life were not seeing more Phish in college. So I grew up in Chicago, went to college in Providence, Rhode Island. I was a second semester senior in college when the Island tour happened, 1998. Was I there? No. I was
Yeah. That sucks.
discovered the band, and I clearly remember a whole bunch of friends went to the show. We were all waiting for them to get back, and I was just, I don't know, sitting on campus, just not at the show. So I totally feel that. Many regrets, many Phish regrets. And then my first show ended up being 9/23/2000, 2 weeks before hiatus. So yeah, I definitely did college right. Anyway, love the show. You guys are all awesome. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks, Beth. We're all
Oh, that's
awesome, guys.
We all have those shows we didn't go to, but you never regret the shows you go to. So that's just what you should think about. I should think about that when I'm thinking about spring tour, you know?
Armando Green.
Yeah. Armando Green. Never regret it. No regrets.
I got 5 in college, but they were Vegas and Coventry, so I don't know how much it counts.
They count.
They count. I tried to go to 9/23/2000, or excuse me, 9/22/2000, the show before our caller went to, and I was a sophomore in high school. And my mom said no. It's a school night. You can't go to a concert. There are gonna be drugs there.
Yeah, I get it. You should have just gone anyway. That's what I would have done.
Yeah, that would have worked.
That's kind of my move. I would like go to the Dead show and then get punished after. That was kind of like, go to the Dead show and stay overnight in a hotel when you're 16 and then come home and deal with the consequences of that, which was 2 weeks of grounding, which was 1000% worth it. It's not that bad.
I don't think I pulled that move as much in high school as I should have. In hindsight, nothing would have happened.
Nothing happens. That's the thing.
There was no place else for me to go. I think about this when I try to reprimand my children now. Like, there's no place else for you to go. So, like, I have only like of what I can actually do to like take away from you and stuff. And yeah.
Well, and we didn't even have devices then, so I had 2 weeks that I had to stay home. And what did I miss? Like drinking in the woods a couple times. Like I was like, this is fine. It's totally worth it.
Imagine if I had gotten grounded for 2 weeks, knowing what you know now about movies and literature. I would have just been like, yeah, cool, whatever.
Like
weeks where I don't have to deal
anywhere?
with like my melodramatic friends who are going to drink crappy beer in the wood, literally just like get a picture into the rest of the world via film and books. Oh my God.
I mean, honestly, I probably did just read and watch movies the whole time, knowing me, but like, yes, I would do it really well now. Can someone ground me? I would love to be fucking grounded. That's why COVID was so great.
It was.
Parts of it. I don't want to be like out loud saying that, but like, it was really nice to be quarantined. It was really nice. As a mom or a dad, it was really nice to be quarantined.
Very troublesome take in these times.
Yeah, sorry, everybody.
But no, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. RJ, have you ever grounded? You strike me as someone who could have talked your way out of getting in any sort of trouble.
Oh no, I got in trouble for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. One time I got I drove my brother's car almost into the wall of the garage. And I tried to move the shelf around that I had run into, thinking that they wouldn't notice because it was bent. They noticed. I didn't know that if you put it in drive that it would idle. I didn't realize that was a thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
I got pretty grounded. I think I was a freshman.
Learning to drive it's like you put these children behind these giant pieces of machinery. It's pretty scary. So I had some really unfortunate driving incidents as well in high school.
I think I was 13 then, or maybe 14. I should not have been, but I wanted to just see what it was like to drive a car.
First time I ever drove on the highway was with my dad. And as I merged onto the highway, I was kind of got nervous. I said, Dad, I'm driving away. And he goes, yeah, shut up and drive.
Good advice, honestly.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Thank you to our callers for sending us nice messages and bad ones too. Well, we're gonna play that. We're gonna play all of them. So we're gonna play all of them. All right. Do you guys are we gonna talk about our new big project before we get into this show from February 15th, 1991?
Oh yeah, let's announce it. We haven't told people what
Please.
we're doing. This is so exciting.
Megan, you announce it. You're the most excited.
Okay, I hope I can represent it right. Please jump in. We are starting a new project this spring, pretty soon, but we're not exactly sure when. And what we are going to do is we are going to be thinking about the 4 top versions of songs. So the Mount Rushmore of Phish songs. So we have compiled a list of songs that we want to dive deep into. And we're going to actually require a lot of listener help because we want to hear from you. We want to hear what your top 4 versions of these songs are. And are we going to announce what our first song is today?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. So we're going to start with Bathtub Gin. And we're going to ask for you to send us, we're going to send out a Google form, and we want you to send us your top 4 versions of Bathtub Gin. These are desert island versions. So we want to hear from you. We're going to take your lists. We're going to look at them. And then we're going to choose our own. But, it'll be interesting to see how yours compares with our list. And I think it's going to be really fun. I'm really excited.
Megan, do you know if there's like a URL or anything where people can go to fill this out? Or should I tell people that?
Yeah. Can you tell people that? It's
Sure.
osirispod.com, right?
/ Rushmore.
Rushmore. Yeah.
Rushmore. We are hoping to get Brian to wear a beret at some point during the Mount Rushmore series.
I have a beret. I'll send him one.
Well, you have it. I mean, no offense, but you wearing a beret is like, it's not that out of the ordinary.
No, I like a beret.
I could picture you. I could picture you wearing a beret. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that
Can very much picture Megan wearing a beret, like unironically. I can see it.
Okay, I'm gonna wear one for you guys and show you. I think I have one. I have never worn one recently. I'll say that.
Okay, so Forbin
Bring it back,
777. Thank you for watching, as always. How many songs will Megan be able to win? The great thing about this year is that there is no winner. We are all winners. There's no gamification really, except you're going to tell us what you think they are, and then we're going to decide on them together. I guess we could disagree on them, and then we'll have that out on the show, and we'll disagree about maybe the 4th one, or what could be what we missed,
Yeah.
or if one of us feels strongly and one of ours got left out, we can argue. But no one, there is no victor except we're all victors, and that's what's so great about it.
Yeah, this will work similar to the top 2 consensus, but also there is disagreement within that consensus. So I think that will be interesting as we dive into it. Certain songs, I think Gin will actually be one of these where there's probably multiple opinions about what should be in the top 4 among the 3 of us, probably amongst you as fans as well. A song like Tweezer, like how do you just narrow that down to 4 songs? Got a rough list of around 70 Phish songs and Phish covers that we're going to work through into the future. This is our series. We're going to try to come up with if Megan can't win, what are we even doing here? It's a good point. No, it's a really good point.
It's actually kind of like our motto in life, all of us.
really is.
Don't worry, we're still going to have places to compete because we're still going to be doing our drafts too.
We're going to still do our drafts, which we'll actually talk about later in the episode. Don't want to give you guys too much info, but I mean, the idea here, rather than searching for quote unquote the best, if you were to tell someone, I love this band Phish, here's a song I think is a really great representative of them, and here are 4 versions that I would recommend you listen to understand them at their absolute peak. That's what we're trying to provide for the people here. So going to be an unending, maybe not unending, but for the foreseeable future, an extent we can't wait to dive into.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun because we're going to mix up like old songs, new songs. It's going to be great.
Covers, all that.
Covers, yeah.
We have so many. We have a long list, and one of us is going to create a spreadsheet, and it's going to be awesome, and it's going to all be organized, and that might be me. We'll see. I think it's probably going to be me. Megan, we are talking about 2/15/91. We haven't done a show from pre 1992 since a year ago, and that was when we did the mapping project with Stephen Grip. And we talked about Gamehenge 88, but I would say we didn't really dive into a show. It's very rare that we talk about a pre 92 show. We talked about the spring 92 tour, which was the number 24 ranked tour, but it's kind of rare that we get a look at some of these shows that they played before they started touring heavily. This, I didn't know this, you guys probably knew this maybe, but there's a full YouTube recording of this show on YouTube, which is, the quality is not good, but it's someone had must have had a fucking giant camcorder, because it was
right, like one of those ones
1991.
holding it up like this. Yeah.
Or maybe had 7 people all holding it up together. But there is I'll put the link in the notes, but this is a 900 capacity venue, the beginning of 91. Debuts, as Trey says during the show, this is the place where lots of debuts have happened. It's just a funny thing to go all the way back. Megan, what's your first thought about this tour or this year, or where we are looking at early 91?
Well, I was thinking about the last time we talked about this time period in Phish history was when we did 40 for 40, which shockingly enough was 2 years ago. So we probably covered 91 sometime in March or something last year or 2 years ago. And looking back at those notes and thinking about what was going on for the band then, this is such a huge, huge year for the Phish. They played 133 shows in 1991. And this 1989 to 1992 were the most prolific years in terms of touring for the band. They were playing somewhere between 125 and 150 shows every year. So they were just constantly on the move. This is the year they started recording every show too. They're going to do 2 full country loops this year. This is Amy's Farm. We have Lawn Boy released in September 1990. So just a few months before this show happens. And they're going to have their biggest show ever at the end of 91 in New Year's Eve at Worcester. And after this tour, the spring tour, they are going to record Picture of Nectar. So a lot is happening for them. And at the end of the year, they're going to sign with Elektra. It's also just a big jump in the organization. So the band is really in a moment of humongous growth in 91.
So they also, this tour, but they were always kind of a year, not a year, but a tour ahead of the album schedule, right?
Yeah.
They're already playing songs that would go on future albums. But I think Trey talks about a new song in Gula Papyrus, right? I mean, newish. It wasn't a debut, but it debuted in 91. So you get a bunch of early versions of songs, and then a bunch of original kind of old school songs. I don't know. I had fun with this show, but I'm wondering how do you think this tour fits in? We probably talked about it 2 years ago, but maybe it's worth talking about now. You said they drop that show that's 12/31/91. What happens before this? Was this the first year of real serious touring?
I think you see the real serious touring happening starting in 89, 90, 91. I think that what you see here, they make such a dramatic shift coming out of 88, where the goal seems to be, let's get to every market around the country. Let's return there as much as possible. Let's go to college towns as much as possible. And let's really hone the show structure and the idea that kind of can happen within the show. And I should say anything can happen short of jamming. So not the last time I'll make that joke in this episode here. No, but the idea here is we can play any style of music. We can play incredibly fast. There's humor, there's hijinks, there's a ton of band and audience integration here. There are teases and referential moments to kind of cultural totems that this band is really interested in and really, focused on. And from a touring standpoint, I'm just pulling up this tour here. This is admittedly a little bit of a blind spot still for me. I hate to admit that, but this is kind of the prelude to what we would see next spring, a tour that we love very much and we've talked about, was in our top 25 tours. And then the following spring, 1993, where the band just saying, once kind of the calendar turns over, we're going to spend 4 months on the road. We're going to do a loop right around the country. And we're just going to continue to like home show. I'm a huge fan of a couple of the shows in Colorado in mid-March. That's kind of the one area I am really familiar with. I had a lot of those tapes when I was first getting into the band, specifically 316 from Breckenridge. But overall, you're just hearing them like every night. It's tight. It's new song selection. It's humor. It's all that stuff I was talking about. That in a way preludes where they will go from an improvisational standpoint. It's just here in the songwriting, song performance standpoint.
Yeah, this tour is massive. I mean, it's basically almost 4 months. Like, if you
Yeah.
pull this up, it's crazy. I mean, they're touring all of February, almost every day in February, almost every day in March, almost every day in April, and then a little bit in May. That is so long to be on the road. And what's interesting, if you look back on 90, 91, 92, they're playing a lot of the same venues over and over again. So this show we're going to talk about today at the Colonial Theater in Keene, New Hampshire, this was the 4th time they played out of 7 times they're going to play in this venue in 2 years. So they're going back to the same places a lot. And it's each time they're, sometimes they're getting a little bigger, but I think it's not till really 93 that 92, 93 that you start to see them like growing, where every time they go, they're playing somewhere a little bit bigger. So they're doing a lot of the same, kind of hitting the same college towns over and over again. And this is a 900 person venue. It actually looks very much like where I saw them for the first time, DeVos Hall in Grand Rapids, Michigan in 94. But that was kind of the off market, small venue where they were still playing in small theaters in 94. But this is definitely where they were playing, around like 5 to 1,000 person venues all over the country.
Yeah. This tour, like later on in the tour, they play in San Francisco at the DNA Lounge, which is still there, and it's still like
Really?
it's like a nightclub, 800 capacity nightclub. But like, think about all the venues they played in San Francisco over the years, and they like start at these, I mean, it's
Yeah.
exactly how you're supposed to do it, right? You go to the venue, you sell enough tickets that you sell it out, and then you move to the next venue. I mean, they did this, and it's also like worth remembering. Obviously, we talk a lot about like the 40-year history and how much they've, everything. But to think that they, like you said, they go back to these cities time and again and like keep, they just like were grinding like every year. I mean, these tours must have been exhausting and probably disappointing on some nights and great on some nights. I mean, like at some point in this tour, they play Biddy Mulligan's in Chicago, which is like,
Yeah.
they're playing
Small.
they're just playing these like random places just to get in front of new people. And it just is like, it's just crazy.
Well, and they play Madison, Wisconsin, Chicago, Illinois, and then Evanston, Illinois, 3 nights in a row, which are all within like 90 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
And it just gets them to like college campuses, but also large markets like Chicago, and basically say, you guys can do a loop around the region if you want to keep seeing us.
Yeah. It's crazy. I think 91 is like probably most known for the Giant Country Horns tour, right? Like
Yeah.
that it's kind of like the only thing that people go back to, I think. Maybe like there's a couple shows here and there, but it's just like, because of the reasons we talked about, like there's not a lot of jamming, there's not a ton of like stuff to really go back and, really dig into, but it's still fun
Well,
to
the
listen
set lists
to.
are very repetitive too. So if you're going to listen to a bunch of shows, you're going to end up listening to a lot of the same shows. And that happened in our 92 tour that we covered.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of the same shows.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of happened. It kind of still happens now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like
There's a lot of
you-
everything's right. There's a lot of Blaze on. Yeah.
I think that if someone goes back, they usually stop at spring 92, because that's the
Mhm.
Yeah, that
first
makes sense. Mhm.
of these early, like 89 to 92 is always in my head as like a specific segment in Phish history that they then broke out of in 93. But 92 of those 4 years is the one that sounds the most like modern Phish. Even though you
Mhm.
don't have Page yet on the Baby Grand, there are those hints of moments, and there are those second sets that are just outstanding.
I just we're recording this on the day of the 3rd of 4 Mexico shows. I cannot believe that they haven't played Mama Dance yet. If they don't play Mama Dance tonight, night 3, then I'll go back and listen to every single My Soul that Phish has ever played. If they don't play it
Oh
tonight.
my God. All right. Well, the gauntlet has been thrown down. I can't wait to
Wait.
see now.
If they don't play MoMA Dance, you're gonna listen to every single My Soul that they've ever played.
Yep.
Trey, don't play it tonight. I really want to see RJ have to do this.
It's gonna be a horrible, but it,
I
it
don't
didn't
know
start
why
until-
you offered that up yourself.
Well, I'm
know,
just
it's like a
trying to keep things
punishment.
interesting. Trying to keep things interesting. I mean, I didn't say over any particular time. I mean, they played it 92 times, so I'll make my way through it. But they're I've seen 20 of them, so I'll just go back and listen to some shows. Okay, let's talk about this show. Megan, is there anything else that we need to know about this? Context is everything. That's what people keep saying.
It is everything. I think we've got it. I mean, I think that it is cool to think about what it looked like and what the venue looked like. RJ had a great picture of it on our YouTube link, that it really is one of these old theaters that, it's still open today, and they have like the touring musical will come through, a music act, like a comedy show, like Sierra Hull is playing there recently. Like, I think that's the kind of places they were playing there. And this was probably on like the higher end of where they were playing. Like you said, they were playing some smaller places too. So this is definitely a great venue for them to play in, and they love it. And Trey talks about it, and you can tell that they feel really good in New Hampshire. It was one of the first states that they really stretched out into. They play so much in New Hampshire in those early years. And so it's a place that feels good for them. And the crowd is super great. And also this audience recording is awesome. Like, it's such a good quality.
Yeah, it is. It
That's
is.
something that
Go ahead, Brian.
on Phish talks about the fact that this is one of like the room and the actual tapers. Like, this is one of the best early tapes that you could get at this point in time. And so this one actually was traded quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn Russell, who's watching this, it's a good point about context, that like this is also, as you said, super fertile times for all the young East Coast jam bands, Blues Travelers, Spin Doctors, Phish. There was a couple of buzz about what was happening. Okay, well, so what did you guys think of this first set, besides the fact that they play really fast and everything's awesome? Spoiler alert. What else was
yeah,
there?
I mean, I think that the biggest thing that stands out to me about this show in general is the flow is incredible. It just has like this really great momentum, the first set and the second set. And I really also love Trey's tone is really tinny, but it works, and his playing is so aggressive. And it's just a fun show to hear kind of that pure Phish feeling. Like, this is them when they're not trying to do anything new or break out of the box. They're just trying to like be Phish. And that's, to me, what stands out the most out of the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like in the first set, like everything's played flawlessly, and really like it's just so it's so well rehearsed, and there are very few flubs and all that. But I think it's kind of cool, like Split Open and Melt. I think it's kind of fascinating to listen to a song like this before they really figured out how to expand the jamming beyond like the song structure. Like this is like it's like an early draft, there's like a 2-minute period of Split Open and Melt where it like kind of sounds like it could become something that's not related to the song, and that's just kind of cool to hear, in the context. But
I think there's a lot of those in here where there's like 7-minute songs where there's actually like 2 or 3 minutes where they stretch out, and you're like, oh, that sounds cool. Like in that Split Open and Melt, it sounds really jazzy and rich. I mean, there's such a jazz band almost in moments in this, but you can really hear that there. They are finding stuff even in short jams.
And I'm just going to say that the night 2 of Mexico, the entire first set was 7-minute songs. So, like, let's not look down on 1991, guys.
I actually think Mexico has been really good. I mean, it's probably not there, but I'm just saying, I thought it's been really good. I love that you're shitting on it. It's hilarious.
No, I just think it's like when I was listening to it today, it was like, okay, another 7-minute song. I mean, there's like 13 or 14. They're all almost exactly. It's almost like they were trying to see how many 7 to 8 minute songs they could play. There's nothing over 9.5 and nothing under 6. I mean, it's crazy. That's crazy for a set. Because usually you get a Divided Sky or like something that pushes the 10, 11, 12 minute mark. But to have everything under 10 minutes in the first set, I just think I feel like they almost have to try to do that at this point. But we're not talking about Mexico.
Well,
Brian,
we are now.
are we?
We are now.
We
Sorry,
sure
yeah,
are.
we are. It's the thing that endlessly confounds me, and I would just it's the reason why I want post-Phish show press conferences. Like, what was the decision there, Trey? Like, you had a really good thing going in the 46 days. It sounded like you found a cool effect. You guys were like in a
That's true.
groove. Like
That was
that
cool.
could have been like a 15, 16-minute first set jam. And instead you were like, nope, we're going back into 46 days. I don't know what to tell you guys at this point in time. You know,
Post
that
Phish show press conferences is just it's just such an awesome idea.
like
Such a good
Mike has
idea.
to face the media to be like, why
Yeah.
did you call for Mull there? Like, why do you still think that Yarmouth Road is the right call to do on third and long? Like, what are we doing here, Mike?
Mike, why are you dressed like a highlighter tonight? Can we get that
Oh my
information?
God.
Like after 12:28, like Fish, Trey, are you guys what's going on? Did you guys not sync up in practice? What's happening here? No, but like I think that you have some good points about the first set from last night in Mexico. I think that Megan is in the correct position here, though. That it's been, I would say, a really great Mexico run thus far. Killer start to the year, awesome Piper, great
Oh,
everything's right, beautiful light. What else did we get? There was something else in there that I'm blanking on, but it was
the
Twist
cities
was
was
really
great.
fun. The cities was great. Thank you, Meg.
City was cool.
I thought night one was an excellent way to kick off the year, and I'm really stoked for
Incredible.
everyone there. I hope everybody there right now is like doing that thing where they hang out at Los Tacos and
The best.
order
Yeah.
just
It's really
drinks
great.
Ugh,
and hang out
just
and
sitting
have
by the
fun in the sun.
pool.
This is like when the sadness though kicks in because you know that when you go
Yeah, you
tonight,
only
like
got a little bit more. You're like halfway done. It's like
uh,
it's a little
you're
sad the whole
you're
time,
in the
but yeah,
groove,
it's
you know what to do, you know what
yeah.
your routine is, you know what time to order room
You're like,
service because
I
it's
could
going to
just
show
do
up
this
like
forever.
45 minutes late or like an hour and a half early. You never really know, but you know how to figure that out by now.
You know how to get your
Oh,
ice you know how to get your ice cream that you put in your freezer and your fridge so you have a milkshake when you get back from the show? Like, you know what you're doing. Yeah.
you know how
I
long it
got
takes to walk to the cafe to get some coffee so that you can catch the golf cart and then take that all the way down to the venue,
oh,
slowly walk in. You know what stands to go and get tacos? I mean, come on, come on.
Fish
Everyone's
Mexico
in
is a dream.
bliss
They're
right
having a
now.
great time. And night one, I thought was awesome. Great flow, killer set list, warm up jams, like we talked about, connected playing. Like, I don't think you get any better than a first night. And thank God they're not doing one set shows anymore.
I
Yeah.
to push this back to 1991.
Yeah, let's get
Can I
back.
just say that I haven't listened to set 2 of the second night yet? So
Well,
can I just
that's
say
why
that?
you are unsure of what's going on there because
No, I'm
it's
just
killer.
all I said is that all the songs in the second set were between 7 and 9 minutes. That was a factual
Wait, the
statement.
first set. Yes.
It's
First set.
like it's like you left your showing of The Brutalist at intermission, and we're like, "I have opinions on this movie," and you have
Totally.
no
I made
idea.
a factual statement that there were
You
no songs longer than 10 minutes. I mean,
you have no
have we
idea
lost our sense for facts in
how
this country?
everything got
Yes,
fucked up
yes, we
in
have.
the second half. You have no idea what is going on here. Tell me what happened at the marble in the marble
The
quarry
quarry.
I
in
won't. I
Italy.
don't need to.
Tell
Ugh,
me what happened.
I don't need to.
a lot
No
happened.
one's
A
paying
lot.
attention. Bring it back to
Um,
1991, Brian.
bringing it back to 1991. So I think that the thing that's interesting about this first set, Meg, you're right about the flow standpoint. RJ, right about the song time standpoint. I think that one of the biggest arguments for going back and listening to this era, which admittedly I don't do as much as I should, um, is this is the era where there's not a single bad Fish song. There's not a song that you don't want to
Yeah,
hear live.
this is very
Like
true.
Yeah.
every song, like I'm just gonna read the first set. Curtain, Wilson, Divided Sky, Melt, Fee, Buried Alive, Mango Song, Sloth, Dinner and a Movie, Magia, Llama. Like this is just
Pure fish.
it's pure Fish. You get some Gamehenge, you get the Curtain, which is like the greatest without the with
Yes.
part, which is like the greatest intro to a song you can ask for. Split up and Melt right up front. Buried Alive kind of randomly in the middle there. Mango Song, always really nice to hear. Sloth Dinner Movie, some weird kind of high energy prog. Magia, you got some jazz. Llama, you just close this out with just so much aggression. My note for Llama was just that this band must have just blown people away with how aggressive and fast and varied
Mhm.
they were.
Mm.
Like at the end of this set, you've heard all excellent songs, all played incredibly tight, and all played in an order that they probably won't be repeated anytime soon, if ever. It's cool to see kind of a snapshot of this looking back in time.
There's no dad rock in this set.
No dead
There's
rock.
no dad rock. No, they're not even. What are these guys like 3 years away from being dads? Like this is.
Yeah, they're
We are
still really
into a.
hungry and yeah, and they're like flirting with weirdness, like the dinner in a movie, like you mentioned it briefly, Brian, but it's pretty demented. Like it
Yeah.
gets really weird and kind of creepy in it. And they're doing some great segues. Like it slips so nicely into Megillah. Like it's just this is a great first set. It's like so punchy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But set two is where kind of the magic is in this show.
Well, tell us what to tell. Actually, you know what? Let's take a break first before we talk about magic. There's no. We need to leave time for magic.
Always.
Okay, Megan, tell us about the magic.
Well, this set, the second set opens with David Bowie, and this is an awesome version. And I was thinking about David Bowie a lot, and I was looking at the jam chart for this song, and it debuts in 1986. And there are 24 versions on the jam chart before this version in 21591, but that is kind of ridiculous because there's only really 5 or 6 versions before this one that go big. And I'm just going to share those really quickly. So, and you can tell me what I've left off because I'm sure I'm going to leave off some. The ones that stand out to me are the 88 version from Gallagher's. It's 18 minutes. It's got like 6 minutes of like really good improv in there. 5:26:89 from Rutland. They call that the Lazy Lester Bowie. Then you've got Halloween 89 from Goddard, the mac and cheese version. That one went over 20 minutes. Then there's the 15-minute version from Keene, which is the same venue in September 1990. And then there's the live bait 6 version from Boulder from 11/2/90. And then there's this one. So this is one of the really early versions of like good David Bowie's. And this only is 12 minutes, but they do actually pack a lot into it. At 7 minutes in, they start doing this like droning kind of like early like foreshadowing of sirens almost. Really great tension building. And then they have a silent jam at the end, and the full band drops right back in for some really impassioned playing at the end. And it's just cool to think that this song is building its way up, and you can kind of see the progression in a really cool way. And it's a really great example of how much they're doing in such a short amount of time. And I think that's true of Gin too, but I want to hear your thoughts on this, Bowie, you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think the like improv that you hear is like these little kind of riffs, which are it's like band practice, you know, like you hear these little repetition of a theme or riff that Trey gets on, and then you know Mike follows it, and you can tell that those like practices that they do are coming to life in the live context. I mean, they're not like spectacular versions, but it's cool to hear those little, like you described, like little 2-minute segments where it feels like they're getting something totally new and different, and it's really fun to hear. There's like a lot of, you know, intensity at the end, you know, and I feel like the way they were able to like bring those, you know, little pieces of improv into like a full crescendo is really cool. It's a fun version for sure. And I feel like the Bathtub Gin that follows it has a similar thing. It's only like 8 minutes long, but the last 2 minutes are really cool. Like
Yes.
it's almost like a later melt jam or something. It like really starts to kind of decay, and there's like weird sounds, and like there's a lot happening in those 8-minute jams.
There's a lot of ideas. I mean, this is just past when they were doing the Okipa ceremonies in the late 80s, so that's still there. It seems clear that intentionally or not, the last thing that they want to do is get so far out there and prevent some of these other songs from showing different sides of themselves. One thing I found really interesting, I mean, you get like we talked about this a bit in the August 93 top 25 tours, that Phish kind of communicated by way of teases in this era, and so you get like the Sounds of Silence tease at the start. Like Meg said, the Silent Jam, like the stuff that feels a little bit more gimmicky. 30 years later, at this point in time, like that's actually like really hard stuff to do for a band. There's a reason why like a lot of bands don't insert teases or silent jams into their performances, because it's hard to do. But one thing I found interesting, this is an opener of the second set, and I was thinking about how often David Bowie has been an opener for a show or for a second set, and it's way less than I anticipated. Do you guys want to take a guess? So there's been 503 performances of David Bowie. How many of those do you think has opened a show or a set?
20.
RJ?
45.
Ooh, RJ, 42. 8%.
Ooh, close.
8% of all David Bowies have opened second sets, or have opened sets in general, either the opening of the show or the opening of the second set. It's kind of a song that, as they will evolve, will become like the second or third song of the set, will kind of anchor the middle of the set, or will be a closer. And it's cool to hear it at this point in time, just played in a totally different position as they're figuring out what is this song like, what does the intro actually communicate, and is there a way to slowly bring someone into the set by way of all of this weirdness, and can we expand this in a way that like it can dominate a set and really anchor it from the start. But I thought that was interesting. The last time that it opened a set was 12/29/2022, so even today it's not
Hmm.
really utilized in that sort of standpoint. I'm just going to offer out unsolicited advice for Phish. Maybe tonight here in Mexico, or there in Mexico. I'm not there right now. But maybe tonight, let's open the second set with it and just see where it goes. Let's not rush back. Let's just slowly work our way through the quiet, maybe work our way into a silent jam and see what happens. I'm sure that you guys could play a great version if you really wanted to. I think that that's what it is. You may not want to.
They clearly don't want to. They got really quiet last night a few times. Like, let's do it. Let's do it, guys. We believe in you.
Last night we got the first 20-minute Piper since 2004.
That
If we
actually
can
blew
get
me away. I
me
would
too.
never have thought of that. I thought
S-
it would have been like a few years ago, like recently. I did not think that.
some really good Pipers of late, and yet
Wait, the first what?
it was the first
Over 20.
20-minute Piper since 2004. SPAC
Really?
2004.
That is so crazy
Really.
to me. I'm really shocked at that stat.
Wow.
And so if we can do that, hey
Yeah.
guys, we can do a 20-minute Bowie. I feel if
Yeah.
you want to.
Yeah,
Fish.
of course they can.
Really, if you want to.
I think we
It's
could.
it's a trolling. They've got to do it. But yeah, I think there's a monster jam coming tonight. That's if it was Bowie, it would be fucking great.
How funny is the monster trolling if it just keeps going? Like, I get the monster
know.
trolling for like 2 years and then being like, cool, here we go. There's your giant 35-minute David Bowie. But
They're
like,
just waiting for the perfect moment. They're waiting
Well,
for all
it-
three of us to be at a show together.
ooh, that's my.
And then
that
they'll
might be
just
it.
then they'll just drop it. They'll be like, we just were waiting for HF Pod to be
Guys,
together.
Brian, we were there. It was it would almost happened at Alpine. It almost happened.
It was the best version you've ever seen.
So
I
much
can.
almost happened at Alpine.
I stand in testament. It was great.
It was the best Bowie I've ever
Remember
seen.
that
I mean,
controversy? That was
yeah,
crazy.
like people were telling me what the best Bowie that I've ever seen was. They were like, "What about 12/29/94?" I'm like, "I wasn't at the fucking show."
You're like, I
I don't
wasn't there.
understand what that.
They missed like
Did
a
you not
huge part of that sentence.
Read the tweet. Did you not? Did you
And then
just
I shared-
respond?
And then I shared all the Bowies I've seen, and people were like,
I know that was
"Yeah,
amazing.
It kind of makes sense."
They're like,
okay.
oh, you're right.
That was the
All right.
best thing to happen in any of those 7 shows I saw in late 2022. I'll tell you what. That controversy.
I know. Sometimes you got to go back to things that are interesting. Okay, guys, this well, there's a couple other things. First of all,
Yeah.
I was thinking about the hood, because it doesn't really sound like them, because they're like 10 years old. It sounds like it doesn't even sound like them singing when they're singing Hood. I'm like, this is not even, because it doesn't even really sound like them, which is just crazy.
I know.
it-
I know.
You know,
It sounds like baby fish, like teenage fish. It's like,
yeah.
yeah. I was just listening to the white tape for something else we're doing, and it sounds like teenagers playing Phish. You're like, is it a Phish cover band? Like,
Yeah.
it's so cute, you know? And that's
I'm curious
how-
why you were listening to the white tape, but maybe we can get to that
I
before
don't
we
know. Maybe we'll
wrap
talk
up.
about that later. Maybe we'll talk about that
Maybe.
later.
Interesting take. on the
Everyone
white
get
tape.
ready.
Go on.
Get ready. Sorry.
Get
go
ready.
ahead, Megan.
Maybe I'm just throwing you off.
Oh.
Yeah, I want to talk about this hood, and then I want to go back and talk
Brian
about the
like
Yamar. But the hood, it's Trey's tone is like it's so different than it is now. And so when you hear him playing Hood in this version, it's just like, yeah, it sounds like them, but it doesn't sound like them. But they have huge peaks at the end of this Hood, and they do some really amazing like swirling and crescendoing riffs at the end. It's just, you can hear them getting there, and they hit the emotion in Divided Sky too. So it's like they have that in them. They're there emotionally. They're just like not able to like, fully like embrace it, I think. But they're still getting there. They're hitting it.
I think it's a really good way to put it. And like, it's so funny to me to think about how within 6 years they are going to realize that the intro to Harry Hood can just be stretched over 5 minutes and it doesn't need to be rushed through. Um, Within 2 years, fans are going to realize, let's not clap at the start of this jam because that just speeds the band up and that distracts everyone. Um, but all along, the connective tissue and what like is so fascinating about listening to this era and comparing it to 3 4 years from then all the way up to today is Trey. Like, the gear may not be the best. Page may sound like he's playing a Casio keyboard. The audience may clap where they shouldn't be clapping. But Trey is coming in with these organic, original, new ideas. The riffing is so fast and so creative and so emotional. And for a band that is like about to play a Sid Barrett song as a joke and do a vacuum solo on the other side of playing like a really weird, wacky AC/DC bag, to zero in on this kind of emotion and really just like let that hang for 10 minutes. It's really, really fascinating that they were able to drop that in to a set like this and it really connects. And it kind of foreshadows, at least for me, where they're going to go with ballad writing and where they're going to go with a little bit more emotional playing as we move through the 90s. So like you can hear it, but like you said, Meg, like it's very clearly like a pre-completed picture of Phish hinting at where they're going to go.
Well, and it's so cool to think about that even though they were this weird band that wants to sing like Frank Zappa, Trey still has these really lofty compositional ideas that are deeply emotional. And hearing them play that when they're such a young band it's so inspiring.
What else we got?
Can we talk about this Yamar?
Yeah,
Sure.
Because
That's a
it's
good idea.
actually really, really good. Like, the way Fishman is keeping time is just unbelievable. And Page sounds really great. Like he has like kind of like a crappy organ, but it has like a real like baseball, I don't know, feel to it. Like it sounds so great. It's such like a zippy version. I really like this version of Yamar, and it's kind of perfectly placed here. And that song always feels like summer to me, but in this version, it actually sounds like really nice here and is kind of perfect in this theater. I think I can imagine it there. It's nice.
It also kind of speaks to the way that set lists were crafted back then, where you get Bowie, you get like a slowed down kind of weird bathtub gin, and let's go Yamar, let's go Gula Papyrus, let's go My Sweet One. Why not? Why jam at all? Yeah, the Yamar is nice though. The Gula though, as you noted earlier, RJ, Trey talks about how they love playing new songs in Keene. It's their favorite place to play.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Do you think
It
you'd
makes
still
me
say that today?
Well, it makes me think about that because like in 1991, this is probably like the biggest that they thought they would be. Where like when they come back to the
Mm.
Northeast Kingdom, everybody goes to Keene to see them. Everybody goes to, one of these smaller cities around the Northeast to see them. And that had to be like, that's what else do they need, and they don't realize that MSG is looming, amphitheaters are looming, festivals are looming, and like within 3 years, like they've been in this band now for 8 years, and within 5 years, they're going to play the Clifford Ball. So like less than half of the time that they have been at this, they're going to play to almost 100,000 people in the Northeast. Like it's such a fascinating period in their history where I think that they felt that this is the best, like this is the peak. All these fans here, this venue, this is the best it could ever get.
I wonder like how much they knew, because they signed with Elektra at the end of the year. So like they are in talks, right, with record labels, and like this is kind of the beginning of like the jam renaissance of the 90s. And pretty soon, like when I was in high school in 92, 93, everybody's like going to jam shows and wearing tie-dyes, and, everybody's wearing Birkenstocks. Like this is kind of the beginning of that. And I wonder if they had an idea of what their growth was going to be like.
I mean, we know for sure based on interviews with Trey that, he was certainly not modest about his goals. I mean, I think at the time, I think he's always done a good job of being grateful when things are happening to them. But I feel like he was never like, we're going to tour around New England and like Keene is going to be like, our favorite place to go.
So you're
I
saying
think
he's full of shit. He's just like, I love
Well,
Keene.
I think at the time he loved it, but I think he had aspirations, that were wildly beyond Keene, But I think he does I guess what I'm saying is I think he did a good job of staying grateful in the moment, probably always, and still does, while still like really expecting a lot out of himself mostly.
I think that's the thing. And I think that's the really fascinating aspect of all of this is that they sound like a band that never wants to get bigger than they are right here. But they
Yes.
do. They clearly do. And so you get these really wild mixes going back to this period where like you can listen and again, like Spring 92 is usually the earliest I go in this area, but like you felt it here that they are so thrilled that all these people came out. They're so thrilled to present who they are at this point in time, what their songs say, a little bit of experimentation within there, and they're just thrilled to be at the party. But they also know long term, this is not like this is at the end. And I wonder, was the inspiration the ability to just like not have to worry about money and just worry about art, or was the inspiration that every single night that he walked on stage he could wear a new $700 shirt?
He's an artist, guys. He's driven by a need to create and a need to make art and to do it in the best possible way that he can and continue evolving. And that's what's cool though about this show too, is that when you look back at these versions of these songs, some of them are, like Chalk Dust. This is the 7th performance of this song. That's crazy. Like the song is going to be so huge. It's going to have the biggest, best jam of last year in a lot of people's minds. And it's, they're going to play a 45-minute version of it in 2024. And it's a 7th performance. It debuted 2 weeks earlier at Brown in Providence. And the first memorable performance is probably going to be May of 91 at the Campus Club. That's like when the lights went off and then they came back on and they kept playing. But this song is like just beginning, and it's so cool to listen to these songs in this like nascent stage. It's really cool and see how they're figuring out where they go.
Yeah.
I was thinking
I
about
don't
that
think
a
Trey
lot.
even I think Trey's fashion sense, I think it's like his desire for nice clothes really came late,
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's fairly
'Cause
recent.
he's wearing a lot of like $2 black t-shirt tank
Yeah.
tops in this era, and like
Yeah.
the thick tongues on like the early
Mhm.
90s sneakers.
Oh my God, the
Really
best.
just strange fashion at this point in time. I was thinking a lot about Chalk Dust contextually as well. So 518 performances, 7 to date at the point of this show. And it's a set 2 closer, which is a pretty rare thing. Unfortunately I did not pull the stats on how many times it's closed the set, but it's not really a rare feature. I can do it live if you want. It just may take a little bit.
No, we're good.
But like it is crazy to me. It's endlessly wild to me the fact that Chalk Dust Torture was this in the Phish catalog, which was just like a straight ahead 6-minute rock song,
Right?
and is now the best jam vehicle that the band has. And
Yeah.
how
It's
bizarre that
crazy.
is as a concept for where Phish is at in their career. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on that. Like, did you ever think that when you were starting to see Phish in the mid 90s?
No, and I mean not until 2013, really. Like that's like when it became what it is today,
That's
some of
you're right.
those 2013
Yeah.
versions. I
Yeah.
don't know. No, I did not think that. I thought it was just like a song that they played to, just
It's
waste
just like a
time.
vibe song. Yeah, just like a party song, like like Character Zero. Like let's just build the crowd up and like get people excited. It never seemed that important. But that's what's so fucking cool about Phish, right? You just never know what's going to become the new song that we're going to be talking about in our Mount Rushmore episodes. You just never know.
You never know.
Will what's going through your mind become a Mount Rushmore qualified song by the time we finish the series?
Oh, qualified that already? Probably. I mean, this song had one of the best jams in Bond Green.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
I think it has to hit, what did we say, 50?
Is that how
50
many?
versions, and then
50
it
50
has
times
to
played.
have 4 qualifying versions at that point in time. So yeah.
50
I mean,
might be
we're at 5 times played, so
it's going to
see.
take a bit. Maybe if
They
this
play it
series goes
every
on that
show.
long.
They play every show this year.
Exactly. They might. Trey might.
Okay. We have to announce, we actually have a voicemail that we're gonna play at the end of this episode. Is there anything else about the show that you guys want to mention before we move on?
Yes. One more thing. The first encore is so fucking awesome. Like, come out and play an 8-minute Caravan, 8-minute jazz encore. Incredible communication in this jam. So cool. So good. And then just go right into Big Black Furry Creature from Mars, where Mike like goes off, and it feels so perfect. Like, this is an encore worth having. What if they just came out and played Caravan as an encore? What if they did that at Mondegreen on the last day? That people would have died. Like, it's so cool. I think this is unbelievable set listing right here.
Megan, can I tell you a band that played a 7-minute Caravan last weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, Reprise. They opened
Yeah.
the Sunday night show in New Hampshire with Caravan. There are a bunch of new dates. You guys should go to Reprise.
Can we
Band.
just say something
.com.
really quickly about that? I was at the Park City show last week, and I think that's been since we aired last time. And that room was packed, and people were going crazy. And the band, just like we talked about with Scott when we had him on, they are nailing all the compositions, but then they're really diving into the jamming in a way that's risky and really in the moment and their own, but also kind of honoring the jam that was there. And the tweezer that they opened the show with was absolutely incredible. And the whole show was just so great. And everybody was having the most incredible time. And there's huge momentum behind this band. And so everybody should go see Reprise as soon as you can. It's so much fun.
Yeah, everything I've heard, the diversity of jamming is really like the biggest takeaway for me, because it's clear they're not just like, okay, we need to learn this song and we need to learn this set list and whatever hijinks. Like, they're actually listening to this era of Phish history. How do we incorporate that? And to do that over like a weekend, multiple eras, come on, it's killer stuff.
Sorry,
I would like to.
Let's go back to this encore, Brian, or whatever else you want to say about this show.
I'd like to. I would like to second your take there, Meg. This is how you encore. The encore should not be this like complicated experience. If we're gonna do an encore, give us a rarity, give us a fun song. Like, nobody's gonna complain when you get a Santos encore. Cool, whatever. But like, you got 20 more minutes. Let's just say, I mean, I will too. Like, what are we doing? Like, Caravan has been played since 12/29/86. By all accounts, it doesn't sound that complex for the band to play. I think that they could probably learn it in their dressing room tonight if they wanted to, and do a Caravan into a 25-minute David Bowie. Come on. And then Big Black Furry Creature from Mars, like, super fun, high energy. I'm sure if you were walking into your first Phish show, you're walking out like, wait, that band just played all that music for 2.5 hours and then they ended on a weird metal song. Like, what the fuck is it? Like, what is going on here? Like, who is this band? So, and then the second encore is basically an encore. Contact Brady. Like, that's been done over and over again. Can't complain, but like, I don't have any notes.
Trey's like, oh yeah, this is how we actually end shows. This is how we really do it.
You guys are so mean. You're so mean to Trey.
So mean.
We have high expectations because he's the best. So he's my favorite, favorite musician of all time. He's got to deliver for me, so I don't look like a fool for saying he's the best.
That's true. It's all about protecting Meg's reputation. All right. Brian,
Meg's fans have high expectations.
They do for her podcast. All right, guys, we are gonna actually. Okay, just real quick. Hold on, I gotta do this here.
We're on your time. Don't worry.
You can do whatever you want, RJ.
I know. I trust.
It's your show, man. We're just here.
It used to be. It was at one time. At one time, it was my show. All right, so we got next week. We are going to come back and we are going to talk about Mexico 2025, and we got an awesome voicemail from a listener who suggested something that we're going to tell you right now because we're going to do it. So if you send your suggestions in, we might do them.
It's a great idea.
Yep.
Hey, everybody. This is Brendan McLean from Marshfield, Vermont. Longtime listener, big fan of you guys, and looking forward to the day where we might cross paths. So I was just listening to your episode about 1-3-15 from Miami, and heard a caller make a suggestion about a deep dive into some albums and how you guys reflected upon some things that you'd already done in that regard. But I was thinking maybe it'd be cool if you guys paired that idea with your draft idea and do an album draft. And you've got, certainly 10 or more Phish albums to choose from, and plenty of side project albums to choose from. Anything, in the mix, from Trey to Surrender to the Air to the Everyone Orchestra. Lots of albums out there that would be great fodder for conversation and analysis along the way. You guys can kill two birds with one stone in doing so, and be tons of fun to listen to. So once again, thanks a lot for all your work. Really enjoying the program lately, and take care.
So what's great about that voicemail is, first of all, thank you for listening, and second of all, for some conversation and analysis along the way. We're sold. Brian immediately started making a spreadsheet. Was like, conversation analysis along the way. I'm in.
I'm in.
That sold it.
Yeah, being able to put these albums into context, competition, see if we can defeat Meg finally.
Can you guys handle it? I don't know if I can handle it. I hope you're ready. I hope you guys come ready, because I'm gonna come ready, because I am like really fueled from the last one, and it hasn't left those lingering feelings of extreme competition. I'm just saying, get ready.
You still have, I think, 55 minutes if you want to share any more of your feelings here.
Well, Brian, will you tell us how you set up? Because the album draft is pretty cool. Just like tell people a little bit about it so that we can, people can get prepared.
So we took this idea, we spun it out. I think we have like 24 albums to choose from, something in that range. We did all of the traditional studio albums, and then we threw in like The Man Who Stepped Into Yesterday, the Wendell sessions, a live one, Slip Stitch and Pass, the Headphones Jam, and then a couple of these 2010s and 2020s Halloween album reinventions, so like Wingsuit, Chilling Thrilling, Cosmo Fox, and Get More Down. So we get about 24 albums here, I think, is what we're totals at. And we're going to do this in a slightly different format. We are not assigning albums at the start a section that you can then draft them into. All albums are essentially qualified for any section. Now, some of them, for example, we have a 1.0 section that we'll be drafting in, and a 2.0 to 4.0 section to be drafting in. We have a unreleased live album to be drafting in. Yes, Victor Disc is available. I shouldn't say that so enthusiastically because people might steal it. But you can draft an album.
It implies someone owns it already. Just so
only
you know.
If Brian says it's his favorite album of all time.
Yeah, I better get a list of all Brian's favorite albums so that when I pick them, I can find out that I've stole his albums. I can't wait.
Good vibes.
This
is a vibes podcast.
You guys need me to start explaining the rules to this again, or are we good?
No, we're good. So, it's all basically all wild cards. We're going.
It's essentially all wild cards.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So we have 6 categories. You're going to draft into each. You're going to draft and then pick the category that you're in. So it's going to add a little bit of a spin here, a little bit of an element of a surprise. If you take, for example, a picture of Nectar, you could take that in 1.0. You could take that in the charted LP category. You could take that in wild card. You could make an argument that there's a jam on there as well. There's a lot of ways that we can spin this, and I think it should be a ton of fun for us as podcasters and as competitors and as sometimes friends. And I think for you guys as listeners, hearing our opinions and hearing how we try to justify these picks within each category should be fun. It's gotten me to do a full chronological deep dive of all of Phish's studio albums, which is something I can admit I've never actually done before. I've listened
Me
to all these
neither.
albums, but I've never
I've
listened to
never
them in
done
a
it.
row. And it's really kind of fascinating to hear how they've approached the studio at various points. And I will just throw it out there. I got some takes, and I'm really excited to get into it.
Brian Brinkman has takes. Wow,
I got opinions.
Wow.
I got some opinions about
crazy.
this.
That's
so
wild.
we'll
That's
see.
wild.
Okay, so
Hear none of
we
the
are
sarcasm. None of it.
Oh, good. There wasn't any.
we are
intended.
going to be back next Wednesday with a Mexico recap
Mhm.
of all 4 Mexico shows, and then we're going to be back the following Wednesday with this very draft. And then the week after that, we're going to Mexico 19.
Mexico 2019,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
going to have a guest on the show, a good friend of the pod, our friend. I hope your friend, although I understand if he's blown up text threads of yours about crazy stuff as well. Mr. Ryan Storm will be joining us. He is an adamant supporter of Mexico 2019. I hear recommendations to listen to jams from that run at least once a week. So we are going to dive into that, give it a 6-year anniversary redo, see what Phish was up to towards the tail end of the 2010s.
It's going to be awesome.
It's gonna be so
We
fun.
got a lot of stuff coming up, and I guess I'll
know.
reiterate that if you go to osirispod.com/Rushmore, send us your thoughts on your top 4 bathtub gins of all time. We're going to take them into consideration. We might ridicule them. We don't know what we're going to do with them, but we are going to, at some point in March, we're going to do this, right? We're going to do Mount Rushmore Chalk Dust Torture. I mean, bathtub gin. And then Chalk Dust
Yeah.
Torture right after that.
Sure, we can do
Exactly.
chalk test right after that. But yeah, at some point we've got everything planned here until the middle of February, and then maybe if you guys want to hang out with us for HF Pod tour planning episode right after this, where we open up the spreadsheets and open up
Yeah.
our calendars, we're going to figure out the exact day to launch this, and we'll tell you.
Yep.
It's gonna be
Megan has
fun.
to go get her planner, her paper. Her whole calendar's written down on a piece of paper, so I hope you don't lose it,
It's a
Megan.
book.
Else you're in big
It's a
trouble.
book. It's a book.
What if your
And
dog eats that piece of paper? Your whole
My
life
dog
is
doesn't
thrown
eat
into
books.
disarray.
Also, it's very, it's old school. It's classic. Not everybody likes to keep things in their phone. But yes, I'm glad Incredible Perp mentioned this because we just dropped a new episode of Library Card. We talked about Daniel Mason's Northwoods. Great conversation, and that just dropped. And our next one will be in a few weeks, right? Actually, I think in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
February 10th, right?
February
Yep.
10th. Yeah, we're going to be
February
talking
10th.
about Clara and the Sun.
Claire and the Sun, which came out in 23, I want to say, and we all read at some point in the last year, and it's going to be a lively conversation. I'll tell you what,
Yeah, I'm
very
excited.
lively conversation.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Okay, everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy Mexico if you're there. And if you are there, I hope you're not watching this live, but maybe you're listening on your morning walk down the beach. But we'll see you all next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Megan. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks,
See you guys.
everybody.